Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode, a playoff episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. And as you heard me, you heard correct. We finally in the playoffs, guys. That's why I threw on, you know what I'm saying, something a little bit more silk. You see what I'm saying? I wanted to look good for this occasion, okay? I want to look my best, because this is a formal situation. This is a formal situation going on here. We in the playoffs. We made it. It's been a long, hard, drag out season. We done got into a lot of stuff, and we got a lot to catch up on now. Now we get to talk. See, this time of the year separates the boys from the men. It separates what you think you know about football and what you actually know. You know? So in this episode, it's just gonna be us today. It's just gonna be us. We just gonna vibe out. We don't need them anyway. We talk to our co-hosts from time to time, but let's be real, they don't know nothing either, okay? None of them know nothing, okay? We know what we talk about when we get together and we get to the bottom of this shit. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot to talk about today. We got to talk about number one, of course, the playoffs has started. Uh Number two, we got to talk about the playoffs, the final playoff standings. We're going to talk about the games, and we're going to talk about this draft order. And we're going to talk about where things were right and where things were wrong in terms of what I said. You heard it correct. You see, not too many. It takes a big man. It takes a big person to say, I was wrong. And I thought some things this year. Now, granted, I'm not going to give myself a buffer, but I'm going to inform everybody. We make predictions here on Cuz you don't know football beforehand. We don't do it as it. We make the predictions and then watch stuff unfold. And more times than that, we're a lot closer than you think. Okay, but let's start this episode on things that I was wrong about. Um, sadly enough, well, the first thing that I would say that I was wrong on was I was wrong that I thought my Indianapolis Colts were going to make the playoffs. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I did think we were going to make the playoffs. Not at the beginning of the year, but as things started unfolding, I did get some hope, and I thought we were going to be in it. And yeah, then now we're going to be sitting home watching it, watching these NFL games, these playoff games with some chips and some sandwiches. So it is what it is. But yeah, that's the first thing that I was wrong about. The second thing I was wrong about, I also thought JB's Denver Broncos were going to be in the playoffs too. Um, yeah, that just didn't. I mean, it once again in the middle of the year it started looking like it might turn around, you know. But yeah, I was wrong about that too. The Denver Broncos were not going to make the playoffs this year. Number three, I thought the New Orleans Saints were going to win the division. That looks bad. That looks bad at this point. I did think that I had a lot of faith in the New Orleans Saints. I still think they would have been a dangerous team, but listen, week in and week out, they ain't do what they had to do. So they're gonna be sitting home. Now, now I want to talk about some of the things that some of my co-hosts thought that I was like, that was ridiculous. Even when they said it, I was like, that was ridiculous. Um, Number one on that list is when my boy Nick tried to convince us that Tua Tagovailoa was the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. I don't know what the hell he's talking about, y'all. And I don't know, man. I think he drinks a lot or something. That's it's not fair to him. He had a rough childhood. Yeah, that's fine. So next on that list is when Jamal said the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to be the number one seed in the AFC. The boys said that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to be the number one seed in the AFC. That is outlandish and that's crazy. Did I think they were going to miss the playoffs? No. Did I think they was going to be the number one seed and they was going to slide through the AFC South and do all the blah blah? No, I never saw that for a second. All right. Let's get it. Do we have another one? Tazar, he be saying some nonsense too. Tazar be saying some nonsense. Did he say what did he say? Did he say something? I can't think of it right now. Don't worry, JB and Tazar, I'm sure y'all said something, but that's here nor there. We're gonna move on. So that was the thing that I said. I admitted. Y'all sat here. Don't when anybody says I don't admit that I'm wrong, I want y'all to say, nah, stop hating on my man Reek like that. Yo, he told every time he say he wrong, he come back up here and he tell you he was wrong. You know? So I want y'all to tell everybody because I got this nasty little rumor about me that I don't admit, when I'm wrong. So y'all tell them. Nah, it's video evidence. He admits when he wrong. Sim. That's that. I'm checking the waves. Check the waves. Waves a little spinny today. We kind of spinny out here. That's all good. We got some catching up to do. Yeah, I am one of them waivers. Shout out to the waivers out there too. But let's stay on topic. All right, so I admitted where I was wrong. The draft order. Let's get to this draft order. So now that the playoffs started, we know the draft order. The only way this changes is it's about who advances in the playoffs based on their record. So if you got a worse record and you advance in the playoffs, you still are a lower seed than the person with the better record. But if you win the Super Bowl, of course, you get the last pick and so on and so forth. So we'll go into the top. Did they put the? I don't think they put them. Yeah. So I can say the draft order right now, except for the playoff team. So we can go to top 18 draft order. So at number 18, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. They're the 18th pick in the draft. Jacksonville Jaguars are the 17th pick. The Seattle Seahawks are the 16th pick. My Colts are the 15th pick. The Saints are the 14th pick. The Raiders are the 13th pick. The Broncos are the 12th pick. And as you go down, if anybody doesn't know, as you get lower, that means you get the higher pick or the better pick. So the higher the number pick that you have, the better that pick is supposed to be. So I said the Denver Broncos had the 12th pick. The Minnesota Vikings had the 11th pick. The New York Jets had the 10th pick. The Chicago Bears have the 9th pick. The Falcons have the 8th pick. The Titans have the 7th pick. The Giants have the 6th pick. The Chargers have the 5th pick. The Cardinals have the 4th pick. The Patriots have the 3rd pick. The Commanders have the 2nd pick. And the Chicago Bears have the 1st pick. One thing that I think we can expect in this draft is the top 3 picks being quarterbacks. So I pretty much, unless there's a move, Chicago, Washington, and New England are all going to take quarterbacks. Not much there to talk about. Okay. So we did that. Moving along. So now at this point, I told y'all where I was wrong. Now we know the draft order. You know how we do. We like to keep things in perspective and keep things understood, and we like to start from places and understand so we can unravel philosophies, thoughts, and everything as we go forward through the season and off season and everything. So now the playoff spots are clinched, and we know who made the playoffs and we know who did not. So let's start in the AFC. The number 1 seed in the AFC is the Baltimore Ravens. The number 2 seed is the Buffalo Bills. The number 3 seed is the Kansas City Chiefs. The number 4 seed is the Houston Texans. The number 5 seed is the Cleveland Browns. The 6 seed is the Miami Dolphins, and the 7 seed is the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC playoffs. In the NFC, the number 1 seed is the San Francisco 49ers. Number 2 seed is the Dallas Cowboys. Number 3 seed is the Detroit Lions. Number 4 seed is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The number 5 seed is the Philadelphia Eagles. The number 6 seed is the Los Angeles Rams. And the number 7 seed sneaking in there, the Green Bay Packers. I think like it's so many honestly, it's so many teams that so many scenarios that this could have gone that the teams that got in, even though they seem surprising, I don't know. It's just a lot that happened, and a lot of teams, a lot of good teams that people thought were going to make the playoffs didn't make the playoffs. So that's the one thing about the NFL playoffs that's so amazing. The turnover from year to year. Every year in the playoffs, there's an average of 6 new teams in the playoffs. That means if you look at last year's playoffs, there's an average of 6 teams, or you look at all of those teams, 6 of them teams aren't going to make the playoffs the next year. So a lot of this is it's really amazing and it's really interesting to look at. So every year it's always teams you're like, dang, they really made the playoffs. So shout out to the teams that made the playoffs, and better luck next year to the teams who didn't. That also includes my Colts, so I ain't keeping anybody out of it. So I'm not hating on them. Sorry, y'all. You get a little parched when you talk a lot. Once again, for those who talk a lot, you guys know how I feel. All right, let me pour some more up. There you go. And for those who are asking, this is water. Okay, I'm not drinking. I'm not putting nothing down tonight. This is just water. Okay, just regular old hydration. Okay, so then we're going to talk about the matchups, but I do want to bring in this into the fold. I want to talk about this is when I talk about my Super Bowl winning team attributes. So once again, I have one, two, three, one, two, three, four. Excuse me. I have 4 things that the Super Bowl winning team absolutely is going to have. Okay, year in or out, this is my list. So the Super Bowl winning team, the attributes are they have a top 10 quarterback making less than 13% of the team's salary cap. Now, I said that, and then last year Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl, and he actually did make more than 13%. But I also think that adds to why Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time, because he's doing things that are outside of every other great quarterback and every other great team and what they did and what they had. Okay. So I do think that's amazing, but more times than not, the Super Bowl winning team, uh their their quarterback is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, and they're making less than 13% of the salary cap. Not having a top 5 wide receiver. And I know that sounds strange. But when you look at the history of the NFL, there's 4, maybe 5 wide receivers that have won a Super Bowl, and they were a top 5 wide receiver while they won a Super Bowl. The only ones that I can think of that won a Super Bowl and they were top 5 at the time when they were winning a Super Bowl was Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin. You want to go way back, you can go Lynn Swan. Um, And then if you want to, I think if you want to have the conversation, if you want to open up the conversation, you can have Marvin Harrison on that list if you feel like he was a top five wide receiver at the time when the Colts won the Super Bowl, and Cooper Kupp if you feel as though he was the top five uh, wide receiver when the Rams won the Super Bowl. That's debatable, but there's only been five, so that means all the rest of the Super Bowls are winning by teams that like their wide receiver core is not really that great, you know. So I think having a great wide receiver core is a little overrated, and having a very good one and reliable and having camaraderie and chemistry, I think, is more important. So not having a top five wide receiver is a part of that. A top 10 pass rush. I think pass rush. I don't think like football is that complicated when it comes to it. You get a great quarterback, you protect him, and then you get guys to go get that quarterback and disrupt him. If you can pull that off, 9 times out of 10, you're scarier than and more versatile than the rest of the teams. Usually teams always have like holes in their roster somewhere. So but if you have that, I think you can have more holes. Like I like one thing that comes to mind is when the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Their pass rushers, they had like 3 to 4 pass rushers, but their their cornerbacks were awful. Like I remember watching that game feeling like, wow, the Patriots wide receivers are ridiculously wide open all the time. Their cornerbacks are trash, but that pass rush is showed its dividends. So having a top 10 pass rush and offensive line, as I said, football is not that complicated. If you get your quarterback, you protect your quarterback, and you go get guys to go get the other team's quarterback, you're in the 99th percentile in terms of winning already. So, but in terms of offensive line, um, it's more about the rankings. Like sometimes, some years you have offensive lines that like are like a top 10 or top five offensive line, and sometimes you have offensive lines that get it together at the end of the year, and they get right at the right time. Either one of those situations, and it's hard to kind of predict either one, but either one of those situations kind of make it kind of bodes the same result. I don't know what that was. Ignore that, y'all. It kind of bodes the same result, um, but that having a strong offensive line is what you want. So, in conclusion, once again, the Super Bowl winning team attributes that when I look at who I'm picking to win the Super Bowl, I look at it and say that do they have a top 10 quarterback making less than 13% of the team's overall salary? That usually, and I didn't even say that usually is when great quarterbacks are on their rookie contract or at the end of their career. That's usually when quarterbacks win their Super Bowls on their rookie contract at the very beginning of the year and at the very beginning of their career or at the end of their career. Like after when they make their money. In the middle of when they're in the height of their greatness, that's when they're making all their money. Usually those quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls at that point. So once again, I just wanted to make that clear. So having a top 10 quarterback. So my Super Bowl winning team attributes: a team having a top 10 quarterback making less than 13% of the team's salary, not not having a top 5 wide receiver, having a top 10 pass rush, and offensive line either being a top offensive line or it kind of falling into place at the right time. So any team that has that, that's who I'm looking at to uh, to win the Super Bowl. Okay, okay. Well, we did that. So now we're gonna look at these wild card. These ooh, I don't know what that is. These wild card games, and we're going to tell you who's going to win these games. All right. So the first game we're going to look at we're gonna look at these games that look a little bit more like displaced. We can kind of see how this is going to go. The the Pittsburgh Steelers will be visiting Buffalo um in the first round. So in this matchup, Pittsburgh's defense is definitely a legit defense. And their wide receivers are very good. Their running game, I mean, Najee Harris is a name, but I don't think his name is, well, I don't think his production is matching his name at this point. So you always want to look at the production over the name. Um, yeah, that's that. And then they have Kenny Pickett. I mean, we know how we feel about him as a quarterback. You know, we don't need to go into that. And Buffalo, doing what they need to do. They were 6-6. They went on a run. You know, they showed consistency when they and that was the whole thing with Buffalo. We were always saying if they're consistent, they're a scary team. They're not a team that you want to play. And I think they got it rolling and at the right time, and they're a scary team to play. Josh Allen is is moving. I definitely feel as though he jumped back into like second place in that MVP discussion. And but I still think Lamar got that. But yeah, they definitely did their thing. So and with that defense playing as well as it is, I definitely feel as though this is going to be a scary team. And I got Buffalo winning this game. I don't really have a score, but I have Buffalo beating the Steelers, and I think that's pretty uh, convincing to me. So then we have on the NFC side, the 2-7 matchup is the Cowboys against the Packers. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I looked at that for a while and looked at that as a potential upset. You know, I've told you guys I don't think Dak is that dude. Not like that, you know. Um, but I mean, he's playing very well. You know, he's playing very well. That defense is a tough unit. Very good receiving core. Led by CeeDee Lamb, who is ascending. Um, yeah, you know. But when I look at Green Bay, I look at Jordan Love, and actually, like I said, Cesar was the first person to put me on Jordan Love, and he Jordan Love is a baller, man, and I think his future is pretty bright. I'm curious to see him in the future, like in the like as like the years go by and stuff like that, how he progresses. But I just don't think that Green Bay has enough to beat Dallas at this point, and I think it's close. Like to be honest with you, I would not be shocked if we were sitting here this time next week and I'm telling you that, and we're having a conversation about how Green Bay beat Dallas. I could see it happening. I just don't think that Green Bay has enough, in my opinion. And I think Dallas as a complete unit is going to be a tough out for anybody. So yeah, so I got Dallas advancing. So then it starts to get a little bit chippier. So Eagles, Bucks. Now, Eagles are playing like hot garbage right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. Eagles are playing like hot garbage right now. But they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers led by Baker Mayfield. And I'm a person, I don't have any faith in Baker Mayfield. So that's just who I am. That's just how I think. Um, I'm gonna look at the Eagles though with a little hesitation. You see it in the eyes. It's a little hesitation. I'm gonna look at them and I'm gonna say this: Eagles, y'all better not lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Y'all better not lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh my God, the city of Philadelphia, after starting 10-1, city of Philadelphia is not ready to lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't care where it is. I don't care that it's in Tampa. So I'm gonna pick the Eagles there. And yeah, I'm gonna pick the Eagles there, and that's what's up. I expect you to advance, Eagles. Um, so going back to the AFC side, we got the which I think could be the best game this week, and I'm being serious about that. The Cleveland Browns going to the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. First, let me start off by saying um, CJ Stroud's the rookie of the year. CJ Stroud as a rookie has shown a height higher than most of the NFL quarterbacks. You know, he's played like a top five quarterback in this NFL this season. What he carried is a what he carried to the playoffs is a roster that we all know is rebuilding. Okay, they had two picks in the top five this year. New head coach, rookie head coach. You know, we didn't look at nobody looked at them as a serious threat. Um, and not a defense that we're looking at. We said they got some pieces. They definitely improved, but they probably got another year before we're talking about playoffs or anything like that. So for this rookie to come in and carry that, along with the injuries, the long litany list of injuries that they had this year, it's remarkable that the situation that they're in at this point. Um, so I can't say enough about CJ Stroud. Remember, I came on here and I apologized to CJ Stroud. So CJ, if you ever see this, if you ever see me say what I first said in the summer, all I ask is that you keep watching the series because you're going to see that I said that you're amazing. You know, at this point, man, I just want to see amazing. You know, I can be wrong. I don't have a problem being wrong. I just want to see amazing, and you're amazing. Um, so so the Texans had a great season. They're playing the Browns with a resurging, I guess you could say, uh, Joe Flacco. Now I've been hearing some stuff about Joe Flacco about like, oh, he's looking like how he did when the Ravens won the Super Bowl. He's all these kind of things. Now I've never been a Joe Flacco guy even during that time. But I do respect what he did accomplish. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's been in this situation like a million times in his career, everything. And with that defense, man, that defense is great. But the Texans defense, man, um, the Texans defense, I want to see their 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 uh their rankings. The defensive rankings. If you give me 1 second, I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna look at the defensive rankings. This is defense. Okay, the Texans are middle of the pack in terms of pass defense. Um, they're one, two, three, four, five, six. A top right outside of the top five in terms of run defense. Um, let's see if they do if they generate a lot of turnovers. Um, they're about middle of the pack in terms of that. So like they don't have a bad defense, you know. Um, and I think we're looking at an inverse. So when I look at the Browns offense, I say they don't have a bad offense. And they're going against the defense, and I say they don't have a bad defense. Um, and then we're looking at that Browns defense going against CJ Stroud. You know what? I'm riding with the youngster. I'm riding with the young boy. I'm taking the Houston Texans to beat the Cleveland Browns at in Houston. In Houston. Now, if it was in Cleveland, I might feel differently, but this is in Houston, you know? So they definitely gonna have to stop the run. They definitely gonna have to figure out how to keep their points, the Browns points lower. But yeah, I think they could put him in like this defense can be had. Okay, so I'm going with the Houston Texans in that matchup. So then we go into the Detroit Lions and the Rams and the Rams. So here's the thing. Listen to this storyline, guys. Listen to this storyline. So if you remember, the Rams used to have Jared Goff, and they went to the Super Bowl. A couple years later, now he's getting paid, and they come off of Jared Goff and they trade him to the Detroit Lions, and they give up a lot of picks to get Matthew Stafford. And the Rams go on to win a Super Bowl, and they put Jared Goff in Detroit. And the thought process is, we ain't gonna hear from Jared Goff anymore. This is Detroit. What are we talking about? And the job that Jared Goff has done in Detroit, man, I'm telling you, I'm very, like that is he's showing his value. He's showing that he was worth drafting number one overall. I think he got a chip on his shoulder. In this game, Jared Goff need to come in there with a chip on his shoulder and show them what time it is. And I think he is. I think he will. I think Jared Goff is gonna and the Detroit Lions are going to beat the Rams in Detroit and let them know what they missed out on. Let the Rams know what they missed out on. That's just my prediction. And finally, we have the uh the Miami Dolphins going to Kansas City playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Um I told you guys a little throughout the season I was still getting information, but now I pretty much got the formula. To beat the Miami Dolphins, what you need to have is a defense that makes them grind and have long drives as opposed to big plays. So you got to have a defense that takes away their big plays and makes them have to grind it out and everything and have drives. When those points start going down, you also need a quarterback that can play better than Tua Tagovailoa. And I think anytime that you have a situation where the Dolphins, and I think you've seen that this year. Anytime the Dolphins have gone against a defense that can hold them down or that can take away their big plays, and they have a quarterback that can play better than them, I think they've won one game all year in that situation, and they've lost all the rest of them. So that's the formula. Now they're going to Arrowhead with and they're going against a defense that is, let's see, in passing yards. Let's see. Oh, in passing yards, in passing yards, they're one, two, three. They're fourth in passing yards. Let's see completion percentage. In completion percentage, they're one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. So they're top 10 in completion percentage. Um, in terms of rushing yards, they are middle of the pack. They're about middle of the pack in terms of rushing yards. Um, in terms of let's see, and let's see in terms of turnovers, how they doing with turnovers. And now they don't generate too many turnovers, but like I mean, they're top 10 in passing, like completion percentage, meaning teams aren't completing a lot of yards against them, and they're not completing a lot of passes against them. Um, I think this is like, do they have a stat where they should have let me see this. Hold on one second. There we go. Now we're looking. Now in terms of sacks, Now, in terms of sacks, they are number two in sacks. So they're number two in sacks. They're top five in terms of passing yards against them, and they're top 10 in terms of completion percentage. With Patrick Mahomes, I, I absolutely see the with that said, I absolutely see the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Miami Dolphins. I just want you guys to know I already called Nick, right? So I called Nick and I told him, listen, man, I got him on the phone. I said, Nick, I just wanted you to know, man, you guys had a great season. And he said, thank you. I said, I don't think you heard me. I said, you had a great season, man. Like, but y'all got to go to Arrowhead now. Y'all got to go play them Chiefs, and this is it. He said, oh, you just called me for nothing. I said, man, I just wanted you to know, man. I just wanted you, like, y'all put up 70 this year. It's going to be sad watching y'all go, but y'all going home. Y'all going home against this team. So that's what it is. So that is my predictions of the week. So advancing, just in conclusion, I have, and I'm just read it down as it is on there. I have the Texans advancing. I have the Chiefs advancing, and I have Buffalo advancing. In the NFC, I have the Cowboys advancing. Let's keep an eye on that. The Rams advancing. Excuse me, the Lions advancing, and the Eagles advancing. So yeah, man, that's gonna be it for the wild card round, man. It's gonna be a crazy, crazy, crazy weekend. So guys, we went over a lot today. We went over. I told y'all where I was wrong. First of all, I told y'all where I was wrong, and that's very big of me. Okay, I have to give myself a pat on the back on that one. I told y'all where I was wrong. I also told y'all where the rest of them jokers was wrong too. I told y'all the updated draft order, and gave you a little insight on what might happen in the top of the draft. I told y'all who made the playoffs. And now I'm telling y'all who's advancing in the playoffs. And I want you to keep in mind, because it's coming up again, Super Bowl teams, attributes. Keep that in mind as it comes up. So, guys, I'm not going to keep y'all too much further. Further, longer, longer. Guys, I'm not going to keep it too much longer. Thank you guys again. I love y'all, man. Thank you guys for always tuning in and helping me make my dreams come true. So once again, you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube for the full episodes. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Yo, our real game is blowing up, man. I thank you guys. We just actually, I almost forgot that we just had our first post, our first reel, 100,000 views. That's amazing. That's spectacular. Shout out to us, man. Thank you, family. So we had our first view. It was the New Year's Eve, or the New Year's post. So if you didn't check it out, check that out too. So our New Year's post, first post that we ever had, 100,000 views, and we are lucky to have you guys. So without further ado, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in as always, and I'm gonna let you guys know, even though I love you, I gotta let you know, cause you don't know football, you don't know it. Just like my man Martin said, I see you when I see you. Peace.